Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning I'm going to talk about 5 key steps to managing your debt in uncertain times. This is part 2, so let's jump right into it. So the third step in managing debt in uncertain times comes down to shelter. Now, the Fed has historically reduced interest rates in a time of uncertainty to drive economic movement and in economic spending. And it's important for you to look at how you can take advantage of refinancing your home in a time when interest rates are low. Now, with that, I wouldn't encourage you to refinance back to the original term of your mortgage. So if you had a 30-year mortgage and you've been paying on it for 12 years, try to go to the next 5-year increment and maybe get a 15-year mortgage and drive that down. Now, interest rates are so low right now, and the trajectory looks as though they will stay low. Now, for the time being, at least. Now, it's important for you to look at shelter not only from the standpoint of your house payment and your cost on a monthly basis, but also from a standpoint of managing any other component to that household and driving down that overall cost, which typically is your biggest expense. So the fourth step to managing debt in uncertain times really comes down to transportation. Now, this can be one of the most expensive line items that we have in our plan to spend, mainly because of our car payments. And with that, you have to be mindful of, okay, what am I spending on my car payment? At what interest rate? And does it make sense to either refinance that car, sell that car and downsize, or go a different route, maybe utilizing some means of using Turo or something like that to offset the cost of that vehicle. So vehicle loans are one of the cheapest loans that you can get. It is secured. It is a secured loan. So your vehicle would be put up as the underlying asset for that loan. But typically institutions loan up to about 120% of the loan to value. So what that means is if you have a vehicle that is worth, let's say, $10,000, they'll loan up to $12,000 on that vehicle. Now, that may give you a good opportunity to build some margin into your finances by paying off other institutions by utilizing a car loan. And although that's not necessarily the best approach, the best way to go, depending on your situation, it is a good way to go in regards to paying off something that may be, 5, 10, 15% higher than a typical car loan. So what you may want to look at is figuring out if you're going to keep the car or sell the vehicle. And if you're going to sell the vehicle, then this is a great time to do that because of the shortages. But if you're going to keep the vehicle, you may want to look at refinancing that and taking money out of that loan in order to pay off higher interest bearing debt. So the fifth step comes down to response. Now, as funny as that is, it is not technically debt, but it is important. And I believe it's the most important component to this picture. And why I say that is I've seen so many people, and I even mentioned it on the last episode, of these people who have felt boxed in and ended up making some decisions they probably wouldn't have made because they felt boxed in. Now, oftentimes when people get when they feel pinched when it comes to their personal finances, they'll look at any kind of out. So they'll look at some way to restructure the debt. They'll use a consolidation loan, or maybe they'll even file for bankruptcy. But what ends up happening is they don't look at the bigger picture when it comes to some of those routes to settle your debts. And for example, if you go to file for bankruptcy, what oftentimes people don't realize is that there's certain things that are not bankruptable. If you have alimony or child support that you owe, or you have IRS debt in back taxes or student loans, you have these different components that you can't easily bankrupt. And so oftentimes people run into that as a saving grace, but they don't realize the fact that, if they have a car loan and the car, gets restructured and the credit cards get restructured or consolidated accordingly, you have these different avenues that can consolidate and reduce the payments and so on and so forth, but it's not as good as people think it may be. And oftentimes there is a way out without actually going that route. So this most important component of being able to respond well really comes down to having a good plan. And that's why I started off this theme covering a plan to spend. And oftentimes what ends up happening is people get frantic in the event of any kind of uncertainty. And if you're able to stay calm and you're able to watch and you're able to take a step back, it will prepare you better than any other aspect, any other approach, because of the fact that you'll be able to see what strategies people are using that are working and which ones are not. So my call to action today really comes down to figuring out how to navigate your personal finances before you have to, before you have to react, before you have to respond to uncertainty. And being proactive, not only build that plan to save, but follow these 5 steps to look at your personal finances from a subjective standpoint and figure out your path forward. Figure out your own plan that works for you. If this information is helpful to you, explore the Margin membership, where me and my team will help you take the information you're learning and apply it to your life and your finances. I've built an interactive course that allows me and my team to come alongside people like you to help you revamp your finances and build margin into your life. Click the link in the description below for more information.